What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This. This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we finish up our talks on the lore bard. The most bard that you can possibly bard is right here, and it is going to be a lot of fun putting one together. And before we do that though, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and of course share the video with your friends. Click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. So of course we ranked this earlier this week, so make sure to check that out up in the iCard above. Goes through everything that this subclass does and what makes it unique. But ultimately, we determined that it is slightly nerfed, ever so slightly, from its 2014 counterpart, but still very, very good, and it's still a lot of fun. So I am looking forward to making this the most bard that we can possibly bard. Of course, we're going more support this week. Of course, you can make this kind of a blaster-ish type of bard if you want to, just because of all the extra spells that it gets, but to me, I'd rather stick to support because that's really where bards shine, so let's go ahead and do it. Starting off, as always, we have our race slash species slash whatever you want to call it, and we're going to go with the same thing we actually did last week for our selection here, and that's going to be the human. Now, the human, of course, is pretty versatile, and that's no pun intended. But yeah, versatile is a great feature here, giving us another feat at level 1 on top of our origin feat we get from our background, and that's really going to be really nice. Now, honestly, this is not something that is required. There are plenty of other options that are perfectly fine, and I will put those at the end in the honorable mentions. But to me, being able to get an extra origin feat is really, really cool, so that's what I'm going to do. We, of course, also get resourceful, which is going to give the heroes inspiration, which is great, and we get skillful for some skill proficiencies on top of our already great skill proficiencies that we get as a bard. So all around, we're looking really good to start. For our stats, of course, we are going to be using the point buy method, and so we're just going to take 3 15s and 3 8s. Pretty easy to keep track of. So 15 dex, 15 con, 15 in charisma, and we're going to put our +1 in dexterity, our +2 in charisma. Pretty simple there. As for equipment, grab you an instrument, grab you some light armor. There's not really a whole lot that we need on this build. We're a bard, right? We can get by with not a whole lot, so that's really the important stuff. And then for background, we're actually taking something we haven't taken just yet. It's one that a lot of people probably thought I was going to take first thing, but I have not built with this yet, and it's the entertainer background. The entertainer background, you would think, is the quintessential bard, but we've been going wayfarer the past couple of weeks, and I'll throw one of those up in the iCard above. But yeah, I think that the musician feat that comes with this week makes a lot of sense, especially with how this works. It's sort of a replacement for the old Song of Rest, sort of. It gives you something when you finish a rest. Of course, Song of Rest was a short rest thing. This gives you something whenever you finish a short or long rest, which is pretty cool, being able to give out that inspiration. So again, it kind of goes with us being a human, so that's why I picked that. And then, of course, because we're a human, we get an additional feat there, and I'm probably going to go with the alert feat. The alert feat makes a lot of sense, again, on a support character, because we can get that bonus to initiative and possibly give it to our barbarian or to our fighter or whoever needs to be in position early, or if the wizard needs to lay down something right at the beginning, you can do that and swap those initiatives. So that can be very, very helpful as a support character. So let's go ahead and start taking some levels. We're going to go 20 levels in Bard. Again, we are the most Bard that we can possibly Bard, so we're not going to multi-class at all in this build. However, again, we will talk about some honorable mentions for what you could consider doing for multi-classing at the very end. At Bard 1, we are going to get our Bardic Inspiration and spell casting like always. Bardic Inspiration, of course, was buffed slightly from the 2014 version, and if you want to know more about that, I, of course, have already covered the General Bard, and that is up in the iCard above for you to look at right there. And, of course, not just Bardic Inspiration is there, everything from the Bard is there, which is really cool. And then for spell casting, of course, we're going to get some cantrips and first level spells right now. For cantrips, Prestidigitation and Vicious Mockery are my top 2, and then again, I really like Starry Wisp. I think it's a really cool little cantrip, stops people from being invisible, definitely can be very helpful once you get in that 5th to 8th level. You're going to start seeing that kind of stuff, so I think that that's very, very helpful there. For first level spells, Fairy Fire, Healing Word, Sleep, Tasha City's Laughter, the basics there. Nothing too crazy that we need here, just some normal support stuff. At Bard 2, we're going to get Expertise and Jack of All Trades. And of course, Expertise is great, doubling that proficiency bonus on some skills that we choose. Jack of All Trades, boosting up our half proficiency essentially on every skill that we don't have proficiency with, which is really, really good. And it also has another hidden use, which we will talk about in just a minute. At Bard 3, we're going to get our subclass and we get bonus proficiencies as well as Cutting Words. Cutting Words, of course, was buffed a little bit here, just making it to where it's a little bit less restrictive about who it can be used on. There is no longer a restriction on whether or not that creature can be charmed, so that's really helpful. So definitely a little bit better on that, so I like that. Bonus proficiencies, same as it's always been, nothing too crazy there. We also get second level spells at this level, and again, nothing crazy. Hold Person, Suggestion, those are the top two for me. You don't want to leave home without those. Bard 4, we get our first feat, and this is a feat that I have yet to take in 2024, and it's one that I normally would not recommend. However, on a build like this, it just made too much sense, especially given that we took the Musician feat. It all just kind of works together in my opinion, and so we're going to take Inspiring Leader. Now, Inspiring Leader has been around for a long time, and actually my Paladin had it when we did Curse of Strahd. It was very, very helpful for the players to have that extra temp HP to start the day. And so now your players are starting the day with temp HP and with some Hero's Inspiration. That's a really, really nice start to the day, and even during rests too, right? Even during that, you can have all of this ready to go, and that is really, really helpful and really, really nice support for your allies. So I definitely like that. Plus, it boosts our charisma up to 18, which is great. So no more odd numbers on that front. At Bard 5, we get Font of Inspiration, and so now, of course, our Bardic Inspiration is going to recharge on a short rest rather than a long rest, which is really, really helpful. That makes a huge difference and makes this much, much better. At third level spells, we get Hypnotic Pattern, Mass Healing Word, and Slow is another one that I would consider taking at this level. I think all of these make perfect sense, so yeah, really, really cool. Before we get to Bard 6, I wanted to go ahead and shout out my channel members. Thank you all so much for all of you who are supporting me in that way. Of course, everybody who supports the channel by clicking that join button down below gets access to all of my build guides, all of my subclass fixes. I've got homebrew stuff from 2024, all that good stuff, all right down there for only $2 a month. So really, really great way to support the channel. And of course, I appreciate all of you for doing that. Thank you again. At Bard 6, we get our magical discoveries. So this is similar to the old additional magical secrets, but basically it's been reworked to restrict it to where we don't get the ranger stuff and the paladin stuff and all that, all the crazy broken stuff, the warlock stuff. That was where we got a lot of the cheese. But yeah, now it's restricted, but there's still some really good stuff here. And so for me, as the ultimate support character, there are a few options. Number one, I would always take Counterspell here. We are the best counterspellers in the game because that is the hidden buff here that comes with Jack of All Trades, is that you are the best counterspeller in the game. While Initiative no longer works with Jack of All Trades, Counterspell still does, and so that is why we are going to be going with that. We're going to be the best at it, just period. So I'm going to take that. As far as your second spell goes, I've got a couple of options. If you don't have a cleric or something on your team that can help with bringing people back, Revivify is probably going to be my main option at that point. That's going to be my option if you don't have somebody else who already knows it. If you do have somebody who already knows Revivify in your party, I'd go with Haste. Those two are really my top two options. I don't think there's really a better choice here. So it really just depends. Revivify is my main choice. If somebody else already has it, I'm going Haste. Every day of the week, that is the best way to do that. At Bard 7, we get Counter Charm, and this is definitely highly buffed from its original version, so nice to see that working a little bit better there. We also get 4th level spells and things like Greater Invisibility, Polymorph, Dimension Door. All of those are really, really great options at that level. At Bard 8, we get another feat, and I'm going to give you a choice here. And don't worry, I've got spaces for both of these options during this build, so you're going to get them both anyway, depending on how far you go. But I want to take either Warcaster or Resilient Constitution, both for similar reasons, but there's good and bad about both, right? So Warcaster, of course, is fantastic for being able to help us maintain concentration. That's really, really good. Of course, we can now cast cantrips when things move through our range as opportunity attacks, so that's really cool. There's a really weird bug in the rules about how this works on allies, because technically rules as written, which I know a lot of DMs are banning this, so if your DM's banning this, then don't do this, but a lot of DMs are banning this. So, but technically rules as written, if an ally runs through your range and leaves, you technically could cast a spell on your ally, whether that is a healing spell or if that is haste. That's where things get a little funky, and it definitely becomes very, very busted. Again, a lot of DMs are banning this. I imagine that a lot of viewers are probably going to do the same thing, so make sure to ask if this is allowed. Technically rules as written it is, but it's definitely not rules as intended, so definitely ask, because I would consider this another bad faith ruling like what we've talked about with a couple of other things. And so with Resilient Constitution, of course, we don't get a bunch of those buffs to spellcasting, but Resilient, of course, is going to give us the proficiency with those Constitution saving throws, again, helping us maintain concentration, and it's going to actually buff up our Constitution. That's where we get a really, really nice help there, because that is going to round us out at a 16, which is going to then bump up our hit points as well. So there are really good things about both sides, and so honestly, pick your favorite, whichever one you want. Again, I've got another one coming up a little bit later where we take the other one, so assuming you have far enough in, you can take both. So then at Bard 9, we get Expertise again, which is really cool. And then we also get 5th level spells. There are so many really good ones here. You've got Dominate Person, Hold Monster, Snap Ecstatic, even Yolande's Regal Presence, one of the new ones. I like that spell a lot. It's really, really fun. So all of these make a lot of sense here. And then Bard 10, we get the actual magical secrets, which is cool. Wall of Force, of course, is my main choice here. And then besides that, you can really do whatever the heck you want. The big thing about magical secrets is that we can, of course, swap these out as we level up in Bard. That makes this pretty gross, and it makes this very, very powerful. So that's really why I'm saying pick your favorites here at this level, because I imagine besides Wall of Force, we're probably going to be switching out the other ones as we level up to get things like Wish and to get things that are higher up, maybe even Simulacrum, right? So you can make these things really, really powerful. That makes this feature really, really, really good. So yeah, that's why I say that. So Bard 11, we get no features, but we get 6th level spells. Mass Suggestion, Auto's Irresistible Dance, those are my top picks. I think those make a lot of sense. Bard 12, we get another feat here, and while I would say you could go back and get either Warcaster or Resilient, I'm actually going to go with taking a bump in Charisma here. And I would rather have this maxed out at this level just to help with our spell saving throw DC as we're getting into those higher levels of play. It of course is going to help our ability to hit certain things. Mainly it's going to be our spell saving throw DC though, just because we're casting a lot of things that require that. And same thing with like our counter spell. It's going to make our counter spelling even better. So that's really why we're doing that. And then like I said, we'll come back to the other one later. Bard 13, no features, but we do get 7th level spells. Pick your favorites here. Again, I'm probably leaning a lot on magical secrets at this point to grab things from other spell lists, but that's just me. At Bard 14, we get Peerless Skill. Again, a pretty nice feature. Maybe not quite good enough to call it a 14th level feature, but still very, very good. Bard 15, no features, but we do get 8th level spells. Dominate Monster, Power Word Stun, those make the most sense to me. Both really good options. Bard 16 is where we get another feat, and this is where I'll say grab either Warcaster or Resilient Constitution, whichever one you didn't take before. This is the time, right? Bard 17, no features, but we get 9th level spells, True Polymorph, Wish, whatever you want to grab using your magical secrets, grab those all right now. just break reality as it stands. It's cool. Then Bard 18, we get Superior Inspiration. Definitely a great help for us, being able to make sure that we're ready to go at all times. Bard 19, Epic Boon. I would probably go the Boon of Fate. That is my favorite one right now for the Bard, but there are several that would really work here. And finally, Bard 20, Words of Creation. Definitely not the most powerful of capstones out there, but still not a bad thing. And you've got so much else going on. Having a slightly less powerful capstone is honestly fine. So what do you think of today's build? Let me know down below. I think this is fun. I think that this is a really cool support option. You have tons of ways of controlling the battlefield, whether that is shutting something down with the counter spell, whether that's throwing up a wall of force. You eventually are going to get things like Wish, and you're going to get just the craziest of things. Again, you can throw on like Simulacrum. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with this build, and it's so cool. So let's talk about some honorable mentions before we leave, though. And my top pick again is going to be the ASMR, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this thing is insane. I think I've talked about it every single week that we've been doing this series, and I've either used it or it's been an honorable mention. It's that good. It is really strong, and there's not really a whole lot of comparison to it. The sheer list of features that you get is stupid long, plus you get some options there with being able to fly or possibly being able to scare people or do extra damage and that kind of thing. There's a lot of really good options, and it's very helpful. So definitely a great secondary option if you don't need the second feat. And then the gnome makes a lot of sense as well to help cover up for our possible shortcomings. So yeah, again, we dumped 2 of the 3 stats that gnome helps us out with on the saving throw side. So we definitely I could see this as a defensive measure to help keep you alive. So definitely something to consider on that side there. For other feat options, the actor feat comes to mind first and foremost, being a bard, of course. This, of course, is more of an outside of combat type of thing, but still very helpful option there. Fey Touched is also very helpful, giving us access to Misty Step, which is an amazing spell. And of course, we also get another spell of our choice, which is usually going to be Silvery Barbs. However, if that is banned at your table, Shield is always a thing too. So definitely some great options there. And finally, I wanted to mention the Speedy feat. This is one that I'm quickly beginning to like a lot, giving you that boost in speed, being able to maneuver a little bit better. We don't want to be up in the fray. We don't want to be the one that's getting smacked around, and this can help us out with that. Very helpful. And finally, of course, my top pick for multi-classing is going to be the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer makes way too much sense here. We get to stay on the Charisma track. We get that Constitution saving throw proficiency to help with concentration. There's just a lot of really good things about this. So to me, it just makes sense to go with that option. And the other option I'll mention here is the Warlock. The Warlock has gotten a lot of changes here in 2024, and so we're going to be talking about those here in the next few months, hopefully. But it's interesting, and it works really well with Bard, in my opinion, especially with Lore and last week with Glamour. I think that it works really well with both of those. So that is all for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Next week, of course, we're going to be starting on the Valor Bard, and that is our final Bard for 2024, and I'm looking forward to that. That is the one that actually does want to get up in the fight and wants to throw some hands, which is going to be really cool. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Happy Mother's Day. Stay safe out there. Stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.